Are you ready for some good ranting?
Oh, I've travelled so many miles on my bike. They're big metal killing machines, right? I never slam the brake. I gently apply the brake so my dog doesn't end up being a passenger with me. If you're a driver or you are a cyclist, listen closely. This is a public safety announcement. The rules of the road are changing. Every now and again, they do update the highway code, and they've made some changes. Now, there's actually quite a few changes coming into force in 2022. We've chosen to talk about the ones that we could find graphics for. We're actually going to try and educate people here, because I read these through as part of getting ready for the show, and I am going to kill people. People are going to die. So if you're watching, there's a nice.
It's that golf tournament all over again.
It's that golf tournament all over again. Don't say that. I'm going out tomorrow.
No.
With my golf bats. There's a couple of changes in terms of prioritization at junctions and the type of people that get given priority. So I'm going to try and talk through this. Rule 1, hierarchy of road users. Road users have been split into hierarchies. Road users with the potential to cause the most harm, such as those driving big vehicles, have more responsibility to reduce the threat posed to others. Well, that makes perfect sense to me. According to the rules, pedestrians, with particular emphasis on children, older adults, and disabled people, are identified as the most likely to be injured in the event of collision. So, if you drive an HGV or a vehicle that is basically designed... Let's all remember we're driving hunks of metal that are hurtling at people at 30 mile an hour. Be careful. I think they're just reinforcing that fact, aren't they? That's the first thing. Yeah. Be careful. If you drive a 7.5 tonner, you're more likely to squish someone than if you're on a scooter. So
it amazes me we've got to show 29 and this is the first time we're pointing out that cars can kill people.
I know.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting. So that's the first thing. Another interesting rule change: priority for pedestrians. All right, pedestrians, because pedestrians are only small and we're fleshy. We're made of flesh and blood. Okay. Okay. At a junction, drivers and motorcyclists must give way to pedestrians crossing or waiting to cross. This is a major shake-up, as vehicles were previously given priority at intersections. So where we would have just carried on and gone, nah, mate, we are now going to kill someone because we have to stop and wait for pedestrians to cross. In addition, cyclists should give way to pedestrians on shared cycle tracks. Now, I'm not a cyclist, so I don't know what that actually means. But I imagine what that means is move out of the way if there is a pedestrian. So basically, if you're a pedestrian, you are now given all the rules and rights of way, which I think is probably fair enough. Drivers are to give priority to cyclists in certain situations now, e.g. roundabout. So, cyclists, the new rules urge drivers and motorcyclists to give priority to cyclists when turning in or out of a junction or changing lanes. Drivers are also encouraged to stop and wait for a safe distance between cyclists at roundabouts or during slow-moving traffic. That's fair enough as well. The thing is, cyclists can now basically go wherever they like. Cyclists can be on...
I thought that was the rules anyway.
Well, sod me sideways. It does feel that way sometimes. But basically, cyclists can cycle two abreast in the middle of the road. You can cycle in the center of the lane to make yourself visible in certain situations. Now, what that means is lycra-clad wallies on a Sunday morning are going to get, I'm allowed to be in the middle. I'm allowed to be in the middle. And that's going to be that. I just don't... Yeah. It's just not going to be the way. But they can be either side, which means as a driver, I've nearly took my earphones off. I've whisked my head around that quick. You've got to look left, right, move around. You've got to be constantly... Now, I get that you're driving the metal machine, so you have to be conscious that you're going to potentially run someone over. But what this is doing is, in my head, taking away huge amounts of responsibility for cyclists to not take their own safety into account and into their own hands. You are going to be the cause of many, many more road accidents because we're driving
Yeah.
cars. They're big metal killing machines. You should also look out for us. I'm sorry, I don't want to run anybody over. I'm highly against killing people on the road and running cyclists over and pedestrians over. But you know full well, I had a cyclist the other day. This is true, right? I drive a multitude of cars, one of which is massive. You can't miss my car. It's massive, right? I was driving in traffic, not quick, in traffic. I put my brakes on with lots of time. I never slammed the brake. I had my dog in the back of the car, right? I never slammed the brake. I gently apply the brake so my dog doesn't end up being a passenger with me, right? I slowly sit on the brake, which means I slowly come to a stop. As I slowly come to a stop, I look in my rearview mirror and I see my dog looking out my back window at a cyclist that's nearly gone straight into the back of me because he weren't concentrating. And this was a geezer in full lycra with at least a £3,000 bike. Okay, so he fancies himself. What do we do in that situation? The highway code also should be pushing everybody to look out for everybody, not making it easier for certain road users to ignore the rules more than they have to.
Yeah.
Sorry, it got a bit heated there, guys. I'm sorry.
No.
But me and my dog were looking at this fella, and he knew he was inches from that because he just weren't concentrating. He was looking down, going, "Oh, my BPM! Oh, I've travelled so many miles on my bike. Oh my God, there's a Volvo estate that has come slowly to a stop in traffic, which is what it's meant to do." So, my dog was confused. I was confused. He was confused. We were all confused. And all I could think was, thank Christ this geezer hasn't cycled into the back of my car and hurt himself. Anyway, rules of the road are changing.
Are you ready for some good ranting? Because here it comes.
Mm-hmm.
I genuinely think these new rules, as you said, will lead to a massive increase in rear-end collisions, and it'll also lead to a massive spike in road rage as well. I weigh about 170 pounds. The average car weighs over 4,000. Who the hell's going to win that battle if I decide to step out because, that's the rules of the road? Jeez, some pedestrians are really bad, though. They don't look where they're going. They've buried their head in their phones. Or my favourite one, blindly pushing out the pram onto the road first. That's an absolute doozy. I love this. Don't get me wrong, some cars could be a lot more considerate when it does come to pedestrians. Many round where I live have got no idea what a flipping zebra crossing is. Cyclists already think they rule the roads, and this is now just going to confirm it. I, probably like many others, I've seen many cyclists pedaling down the middle of the road without a care in the world, holding up numbers of buses and cars and everything like that around them. Nothing more frustrating than these lycra cloud louts going 3 and 4 abreast, is there? They just pedal down the middle of the road. For me, if they're bringing this in now, cyclists now have to have insurance, have to pay road tax, and they must have a license. And I don't want to hear, road taxes for emissions. No, none of this nonsense. You're on the road, you're paying to use it. I'm sorry. What are all these blooming cycle lanes for? Anyway, the amount of roads in this country that aren't big enough either for this type of thing. Councils have spent millions up and down the country putting these in. And these kind of rules have just made them basically moot. All right, just while I'm on it as well, want to make sure that we put more cameras at red lights so cyclists don't think they can just pedal on bloody through them as well, because they think they don't apply either.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
Oh.
Now, I must caveat all that. I mean, that was top ranting. Top ranting.
As was yours.
We don't want to come across that we hate pedestrians and cyclists, okay? I am
Despite
a pedestrian.
the last 10 minutes.
Despite the last 10 minutes. It was 10 minutes, crikey. I am a pedestrian. I walk actually much more than I drive with.
Yeah.
But just, and of course, not all bikists. Don't get on your comment horse. Like, of course, most of you do the right thing. Of course you do. I get that. I see people all the time. I live in the middle of a city. I see lots of bikes. All right. I get it. But I just, it just feels a bit silly, is all I'm saying. But why don't you tell us what you think of the new rules of the road? We don't want anyone being caught out. Make sure you do study the highway code because there's many changes that are coming into force over the course of the year. Make sure you're doing the right thing. But for all road users, please be considerate of each other.